How very angelic. I love the start of this. That is so cool. Wow, wow, what a week. And I am very blessed. If you could come to the end of the week and you could say to yourself, what's a perfect way to cap off a week? A Friday where people have been in Las Vegas. They've been all over the world. They've been watching an event. They've been seeing news. They've been meeting people. They've been learning a ton. What's the best way to wrap that up? With your friends, with great recaps so that you don't have to go and watch hundreds of hours of YouTube and you don't have to read thousands upon thousands of words of blogs. What if you could get it all in one spot? You're at that spot. Thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Eric Wright. I'm here with the one and only, he's underscore John Myer, but he's real John Myer in real life. We are the, I'll say the dynamic duo of technology evangelists here at Turbonomic. John, what's it like? You landed this morning. You're back from reInvent. We've been doing daily vlogs, but this is a chance for us to bring it all together. How are you feeling?
Tired. I'm so, I'll tell you what, listen, I've taken a number of red eyes and I haven't taken one in forever. So yes, I did sleep about 5 hours, but it wasn't the greatest sleep. But anyway, I am tired and beat from a super exciting week. It was jam-packed with sessions, our vlogs that we were doing, talking with a lot of people, having great conversations with existing Turbonomic customers who are interested in Turbonomic, who stopped by the booth, who ran into us in the hallway. And I'm super excited, Eric, that you and I get to actually just bring it all together here on this live event. And by the way, didn't we just plan this like yesterday to go live today?
Perhaps. We thought about whether this was going to be a good thing for us to do. And really, the more and more we looked at what we were recapping on a day-to-day basis, the more important, sorry, I got my headphones on for no reason, the more important it seems that you needed to first go through the quick hit list of really important stuff that came out of the AWS camp. Plus, most importantly, let's give it the connection to why it matters to folks that we talk to on the ground. Because everybody, look, we love new announcements. We love the fire hose of stuff. So shout out to the Jeff Barr of the world, right? All the team from the AWS on their evangelist team, all of their product marketing, they were on fire this week with amazing stuff. But take that, set it aside for a moment, and obviously congratulations to them and to everybody and to their customers who now get all these new experiences. But you and I are very close to the customer experience and talking with folks who are using this stuff in business and in their learning journey. And so those are the two angles I want to hit for a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about. We're kind of going to go through the quick hit list of the top announcements that came out of AWS reInvent. And we can, sort of parry back and forth on why, who knows why it's important to the industry and why it's important to the people. And then we can jump into really, really cool stuff we got. But before we get started, I hate to do the one more thing before we begin, but this has been something that we've been working on for a while. And I think there's no better way than let's show what it looks like in real life, because we are proud at here, the Turbonomic team, to be able to announce that we have launched TriTurbonomic. Now, why this is important? Again, technology is great. Why it's important is even more great. Many, many folks talk to us on a daily basis and they say, look, love the idea. I'd love to see what Turbo looks like. We can give a demo, but they often come up with questions after the discussion, or they're looking and they want to see what it looks like. And they really want to understand, when we see app performance and digital transformation on autopilot, sounds fantastic, but then they have trouble sometimes relating it to the very specific way it's going to go into their environment. Well, you're literally one click away at this point now, because now by going to TriTurbonomic right off of the turbonomic.com website, you can get signed up, and this will bring you into a real live self-service demo that you can explore at your leisure. If you want to be able to see what it is that you can do to prevent performance issues before they impact user experience, right? I just realized it says that on the bullet. That's hilarious. I think I must have hit
I
the
thought
right
you
these
were reading
bullets.
that verbatim. Oh, that was pretty
No,
good.
it's
All
like,
from memory. So, folks, we released this on Tuesday. I'm really super excited. Hats off to the team for pulling this off and getting this done during reInvent. This is phenomenal. I've logged in, I've played around with it, and I've told a number of people at the event on how they can play around with Turbonomic and really get their hands on a self-guided tour. There's nothing to download. You don't need anything but the browser, and it's very intuitive to utilize. And I think it's just really great that we got a chance to announce this during reInvent.
the funny thing is, I thought to myself, we could actually run through a demo of it, but that's the whole idea. You don't need me to click the buttons.
Nope.
You can literally sign up, and in seconds, you'll be connected to a live running instance of Turbonomic. And this is really cool because it allows people to see it in action, really get a sense of what are the right questions they want to ask when they talk to our team. And they say, I looked at it. Now this makes sense. I've got questions about this. How will it relate to this? Instead of really coming in with, look, we've got fantastic materials. We got lots of video assets. However, when it comes down, we like to, we're nerds. We love to click buttons, so we've got video assets if you want. You've got areas in the blog. We're doing tons of stuff. So John, you are blogging like crazy. I'm blogging like crazy. Our entire team, like I said, a laundry list of amazing people. Definitely got to knock off the quick names I know for sure. Obviously, Asena Hertz, who leads up our product marketing on containers, cloud, and cloud native. And then the team in advanced engineering. So Ava Tuksai, Enlin Chu, Andra Shara, lots of really fantastic folks. If you're lucky enough to spend time with these people, it's time well spent, as they say on A&E. So anyways, go to turbonomic.com/try, or just click the Try Turbonomic button right on the Turbonomic website, and you are live. Tell us how you like it. If there's anything you'd like to see, if there's more you'd like to see in the walkthroughs, we are open ears, open eyes, and we love the interactive response we've gotten already to it. So I needed to lead it with that because I'm just so proud of what our team has done.
So real quick, folks, while you're watching this, go ahead. No, I'm just kidding. Save the URL, but we'd like you to comment down below. Tell us what you think of it. Tell us maybe some improvements. What do you think you would like added to it? Where did it help you walk through and to try Turbonomic out? Let us know. We'd like some more feedback. Also, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, and the notify on that channel and our channels. Yes, I have to throw that in there.
Exactly. This is, I forget that we're actually streaming on YouTube for a change instead of putting this in straight video format.
Oh, you just led into this is awesome news. Eric, can I share it? I was there.
Do this. This is fantastic news as well, coming out of both now the Turbonomic and the AWS camp. So John, let's talk about the migration and modernization competency.
Okay, folks, announced at reInvent that Turbonomic has achieved the AWS migration and modernization company status. This is phenomenal. This is so few companies have actually achieved it. So go ahead and take a look at it. Eric will post the blog. You can join that one. You can see the announcement that happened at reInvent. Yes, if you were there for the Global Partner Keynote Summit, Doug Ewum had Turbonomic there on the screen. I took a picture and I think I shared it out, but this is huge and big news for Turbonomic and its customers and partners. This is really awesome.
When we look at, again, the partnership that we experience, even prior to becoming an IBM company, we were really, really blessed through the work that's being done by the partner organization at AWS. And of course, we've got all of our great technology partners. And this is what makes our platform, I hate to say unique because it sounds like such an odd word. It's a superlative, right? It isn't actually indicative of us being successful. But what it means is that we build partnerships with our technology partners so that you and your team do not have to worry about coding the integrations, right? This is where we win because more and more open APIs, like Werner said it in his keynote, APIs are forever. So APIs, let that be our job. That's the Turbonomic integration out of the box. Plus, we added GovCloud. We've added Azure Government. We've added tons of stuff around AWS RDS, so the platform as a service SQL support. really truly data-driven decisions around optimizing to get the best performance for the optimal price, matching reserved capacity. It's just a list of stuff. We're going to have a full recap blog that goes on as well, and that's a good thing to actually talk about over
Oh, real
on
quick,
the
Eric, I want to jump
yeah.
on before you get to that. I just want to tell everybody really what it takes to achieve a competency from AWS. Now, you just don't go ahead and check some boxes off and say that you could theorize and potentially complete these. You have to do a number of modernization and migrations and provide proof that you can do this successfully before AWS allows you to achieve that competency. So this could be months, this could be years in the making. It's not something that you can quickly turn around. So there's a lot of work and effort that goes in there. So hats off to the team for getting this done and working through the process with AWS to achieve this status.
And it's definitely, again, a testament to the pairing of great technology and great people to pull this together.
Yep.
On some of the real top level stuff. And I'll just say, if folks want to hear sort of our day-to-day reactions to some things, you can go to the Turbonomic blog. It's turbonomic.com, our blog.turbonomic.com. And you can see we have our daily recaps that came from the event. So we've got video versions, some quick snippets. We're going to roll this up. So next week we'll have the full version end to end. So you can see it all in one spot. Super easy for you to get there. We had, anyways, I'm not going to go into we're going to talk right now about some of the specific announcements, but I just want to show folks that it's that easy. You can subscribe to the blog. So make sure that you don't miss, because we've got a lot of great stuff that's coming up, and it will be super important that you stay tight to this. You'll have tried Turbonomic on turbonomic.com/try. You'll have read the blogs, and then you'll be ready to see it in action in your own environment, which is super easy. And we can make sure we can get you there. All right. So reInvent, John, first in-person event in a while. The show floor was packed. And I know it's weird. I almost feel strange saying that, because I'm like, I don't know if I should say it's packed. You get a little nervous, but it was really, really great to see people able to be in a room and really see a lot of just people felt good. I think being there, it got a chance to talk to new friends, and meet old friends who we often see at the events. What was your sense when you arrived in Vegas?
When I arrived, I think everybody was really super stoked and excited to get to the event. Not only Sunday night was Midnight Madness, and typically that's not packed. All right. So you kind of get in there and they're just sporadic people, but there was a lot of people there. Everybody wanted to kind of get together. They haven't seen each other in almost 2 years in the last AWS reInvent. And, when Monday reception kicked off from 4 to 7, it was, yes, I'm going to use the word packed, but it had excitement. Everybody was just hustling, bustling around just to see people and get around and interact. For those who haven't seen each other in such a long time, the atmosphere was great. I mean, everybody was happy. We got to interact. We got to talk with not only other customers, other companies. You had that interaction going on. It's just by far probably very surreal that it happened, and I'm super excited to be part of it.
If you look at the names that we saw of, like I said, lots of companies that got a chance to get out there, it's for organizations like, we look, like Turbonomic is now, we were 11 years old when we became part of the IBM team. And I remember those early days and how critically important it was to be at these events and to be able to meet people, talk about what we can achieve together. And look, I have a drawer full of shirts and socks and stuff. We joked earlier about this, that we have too many, but it is very important for folks to be able to get there and just ask real questions, go to a session, come back with a question. It's a beautiful way of communicating and learning. And look, the learning, there were hundreds of sessions that people could attend. You can, of course, watch them after the fact. The number of sessions that AWS will have online through YouTube, somewhere in the tune of about 260, let's just say, the number that most people will watch. As they say, it's a number approaching zero, so small that it can't scientifically be represented. Unfortunately, we all have busy lives, but when you're there, you are literally in the game, and it just feels super important. So it's good to see the in-person event does really help.
So the sessions that were happening on Monday, there was a number of leadership sessions that kicked it off. There was a spotlight series with Francesca Vasquez. She really captivated and said this is the largest learning conference that AWS holds yearly. So that it was really great to be back there. Everybody remember, AWS reInvent 2021 that just happened. It ended this morning at 12:30 Pacific time, was their 10-year anniversary. So it was nice to actually be in person and achieve this. They had so many sessions that you could attend, from containerless to containerless. That's not even a thing. Whatever is it?
It will be next year.
Hold on a second. AWS, I claim rights to that service. I know where there's over 200, thanks to us, Warner said, I will claim rights to this. Okay, to serverless, to containers. We talked about RDS, to Deep Racer, AWS Outpost is one of those. And before I name all of those, Eric, why don't you bring up some of the stuff on the screen? Perfect.
Yeah, this is so let's start at the top, because I know this especially is stuff that we look on the analytics side. I was keeping a close eye on what's going on here. We've got Redshift serverless, the idea of serverless data warehousing and analytics. This is a continuous push by AWS to test where they can bring serverless options to folks. I've talked on my own podcast and through our customer interactions with tons of people that are just diving all in on serverless where they can, because it's really cool. So, Redshift, we're seeing more stuff around data streams and what they can do to, run analytics on data in flight, more and stuff around data lakes, because you've got data lakes. It's a thing. I didn't realize that was a thing until a few years ago, and then it's a thing. So we've got lots and lots of work around big data. I guess maybe this is moderately sized data, we'll call it. And of course, data exchange for APIs. This is also the ability to provide authentication layers in between multiple APIs. This is a really interesting thing around API and authentication and authorization consistency, so that you can present ultimately one front-end API integration to a platform, and behind it, then you can have different authentication and authorization to other APIs. There's a few folks that are in the startup space that are tackling this, and it's an exciting area, but it's early on. However, when you see it show up on the Amazon stage, at AWS reInvent, that this is pretty big stuff. They're going all in on it.
Now, Eric, there was another, Eric, on sorry to jump in there, but I definitely wanted to talk about Graviton. Did you know they released the Graviton Ready program, but Graviton 3, they released an instance for that. They released two additional instances for Graviton 2, and that's big here at Turbonomic, as we're going to take a look at that. And all right, perfect. You got it nice zoomed in. Thanks. So I don't have to go.
That's right. For the folks, for the bespectacled gentlemen like myself, you don't have to get too close to the screen.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I love it that obviously you can see the progression. I'm going to claim and call it out there that Graviton 4 next year. By the way, this is opinions are my own.
Yeah. Well, and this is important too, because we look and part of what John and I do is we are meant to have our ear to the ground and our eyes on the horizon, and to be able to put those two things together of what's happening now and where the industry is going. Like I said, I think I mentioned in our live stream yesterday, proud to say that if you go back to my predictions post prior to last year's reInvent, or that I predicted we would see more form factors of AWS Outposts. So we're seeing that show up not only in form factors as far as size, you don't need to be rack scale anymore, but to be able to add Nitro, we're adding Graviton 2, more and more stuff around services getting closer to the data center. It's a hybrid world. Big blog coming next week on that exact subject. So again, subscribe to the Turbonomic blog. You're going to see my long form write-up on the real truth of the hybrid story and how these announcements really play into it. We've got Epic, we've got more, and in fact, look, we recently wrote a big blog here at Turbo about the integration with Epic, why it's important for the industry, why it's important for us and our customers. Very cool. So compute obviously is a big part of the area. Now, I want to jump in. So I know you were watching, and apologies, I'm scrolling here, giving people motion sickness as we talk about this. Let's get into the AI ML side of the world. John, lots of stuff you were watching around SageMaker in that world. Talk about what's happening in the ML AI space.
Yes, so Swami's keynote released a number of SageMaker stuff from Ground Truth Plus, Training Compiler, Inference Recommender, Serverless Inference, the Studio Lab that jumped out. Those are just some of the top ones from his keynote. I want to take note of those. I think I want to jump into a little bit more in depth of those at a later conversation. But some of the other things that you want to note are about AWS Deep Racer. They launched their 2022 season that kicked off in March 1st. Well, they announced it. That's happening on March 1st. There's also an AI and ML scholarship program in collaboration with Intel and Udacity to help bring diversity to the future of AI and ML workforce. There's also a Deep Racer student only for free training, free model, and it's only a student only competition league. So there's something that you can get in there. You have to be a student for that one. There's more details to follow around it, but I think that's really nice that AWS is providing this free, because a lot of the training that happens in compiling does take some, it's costly if you want to do it out of the free tier. So allowing, people to do this as a student and really build that up, I'm sure they're going to have a nice, they might have an in-person league or something. I can't quote what they are, but there is a league happening for student only competition. You can take a look at it. I don't know if it's virtual or on track yet, but they just only announced the league kicking off on March 1st.
The real heart of what all these announcements mean, it's about accessibility to these technologies so that the path to getting started is much shorter and much more friendly, much less friction. Look, getting data, training models, designing models, testing and iterating, it is it can be punitively expensive if you're unaware of the impact. It has been in the past. And I say this with all respect to all of the cloud and platform providers. Look, just because it's on demand does not mean it's free. And we often hear stories of people that are like, hey, I tried this out and I signed up for the service and I was on the free tier and I blew right past my free tier. So we do have to obviously tread carefully. This is a chance for much lower risk for people to get started. And just, it's easy. You've got more people in your peer group that are doing it. So the education side, hugely important. And let's go from machine learning and that layer. We talked about data, we talked about machine learning, and I'm going to go and kick it old school for a minute. Let's talk about compute and the idea of the ops experience. So we saw a lot of work around Control Tower, giving you this came up in 2 years ago and it got enhanced last year, a front-end experience for your ops team to be able to give them a way to control. Also, my second, I announced it too early because I predicted it before it occurred, Control Tower Account Factory for Terraform. So obviously HashiCorp Terraform, one of the leading provisioner platforms in as far as infrastructure as code goes, direct integration. So shout out to both the HashiCorp and the Amazon AWS team rather. I'm going to get busted for saying that. I say Amazon way too often. Amazon Web Services. So AWS, of course, they do not work interchangeably. And near and dear to the hearts of us here at Turbonomic, more data that's coming into Compute Optimizer. And this is one of the top questions. So I figured I should have a picture of an elephant and put it right here in the room. People always ask us, wait a second, doesn't this impact Turbonomic? The Compute Optimizer is important for us because it does much more than just the traditional EC2. It's optimized is really about the idea of checking security, checking, things like access control lists, checking adjacent services that are touching these things. So in and of itself, the Turbonomic ability to be able to assure performance for IaaS platforms and compute being EC2, of course, in that area, super important, because what we do is we take this data and we do different things with it through our proprietary AI, and then we deliver actionable outcomes so you can fully automate sizing, scaling, and setting, tie it with your ServiceNow workflow, use webhooks to get notified and integrate with other systems. So fundamentally different problem we're solving. Shout out, of course, to the folks that are on the EC2 team, the compute optimizer tie-ins, really good. And also their look back. So this was interesting, moving their look back period to 90 days instead of just 30 days. A question also. So Rick Oakes, I know, is out there sort of yelling at the sky going, yes, like we get asked all the time by customers, why do you only look at a 30-day period for a lot of optimization? And that's because it's the only data that's available in the cloud. And often it's the most meaningful time period. Well, the more data that AWS brings to the table, the more power it gives to our customers with Turbonomic. It means that we can take more data to give the most intelligent decisions around assuring those workloads for performance and optimizing for cost. They don't have unnecessary waste. So fantastic news on all camps as far as I'm concerned. And one more one, sorry, I'm stealing all of the great announcements here, John. Real user monitoring for CloudWatch. So again, big shout out to our team at Instana. They do so much amazing work with the APM and understand the user experience. This is going to be something I'm sure that we're going to see tie in both with Turbo and hopefully with Instana, where we can look for the right ways to bring these metrics together. But why is this important? The end user experience being represented as a metric in CloudWatch means that that data can help for us to be able to influence actions we can take to assure performance. Because when we deploy an application into the cloud, it's great, but you don't want to be sifting through logs to find out what's going on. This allows you to eliminate the need for certain third-party testing platforms. I mean, I've used a lot. I'll say like Login BSI is a great example, a few others that are out there. So you don't need to have synthetic user testing. We can do some direct integration there. So pretty cool. We're going to have a long form blog again on some of these very specific ones that are tied into our customer experience. So we'll dig into that one. All right, John, I'll let you run this for a little while. What else was next and big on what you saw?
Some of the things that I want to mention, and I'm just going to jump right to Warner's keynote because I was anticipating. I think everybody always knows that Warner's going to bring some excitement or a new announcement. Well, something that happened on Warner's keynote was, guess what? The well-architected review, or the pillars, well-architected was 5. Well, there's now 6 of those. We have the sustainability pillar. I'm very interested to see how that will work with everybody, because the more compute you use, and the sustainability that they're talking about is really, how are we being more efficient? How are we trying to use less with more, and being cost effective with everything? So I want to see how that works with the current well-architected review. I'm very interested to follow that one, because there's also the operational excellence. There's a cost optimization and performance. As you know, a number of those kind of translate back to Turbonomic, where we look at some of those things with cloud optimization while still maximizing your application's performance. We want to take a look at those to make sure that we're following those best practices as well. But we also provide AWS feedback, some things that we're seeing in the industry, because as you know, AWS listens to its customers. And if we're telling you, say, listen, our customers aren't using it for that reason, or this doesn't make sense anymore, we can go ahead and submit that and get these pillars, kind of reevaluated and, looked at. They're a living, breathing document. The other thing I want to talk about, and the CDK version 2 was released. All right.
Yes, this is huge.
If you saw, and what was his name? Matt from Liberty Mutual was on there. Was it Matt?
Yeah.
Correct. I absolutely, how he talked about, having an intern come in on day 1 and push out to production. I was like, that's pretty cool. Though I did have the Liberty Mutual song in my head while he was talking a little bit, but I couldn't resist. I was
That's what you call good branding.
for Doug to come on the scene.
Yeah, and the idea, and I think the example they gave was 1,500 lines of cloud formation code crammed down to 14 lines of CDK. However, doesn't mean the 1,500 lines went away, but it means you could instantiate and manage that very easily through a front end. It's all about the right abstraction. And as somebody who's done a lot of Terraform, I've done a lot of Ansible, I've done a lot of cloud formation, Chef, Puppet, Salt, pain, suffering, blood, tears. Like every infrastructure as code platform I've tried. So that to see this come through, because they're about builders, right? Like you know this, John, you were in that partner role for a long time, successfully bringing people closer to the services by empowering them to do less, do more with less, right? So this is what it is: less code, more business value. Super cool. And also the learning experience, right? It's, if you're brand new to it, 1,500 lines look pretty scary. 14
Oh,
sounds like I can do this.
exactly, including and Warner mentioned it, commenting or descriptions within your, and I'll imagine if you only had 14, and he talked about how you could come in and easily understand what somebody written without comments. So the readability of it, the usability of the new CDK, I really thought it was interesting. And typically when they bring on like a special guest, you try to have a feeling, you try to see what type of story that they're telling, and Matt told a great story on the progression of slowly adapting and evolving to utilize the CDK, and now they're one of the top customers using it, and they're always talking to you about the latest, like GA or the launch that's happening. They are using it day in and day out, and they redesigned everything to utilize not only the kit, but just to actually be able to push directly out to production, same day in the readability. I thought his story kind of resonated a little bit more with me than some of the others.
And the addition of code reviewer with the idea for secret, it was they look for secrets in code and then can immediately bring them over to secrets manager. So that tie-in means that they can proactively go through and this. So Code Guru is a great addition. We've seen a lot of work that's happening with the GitHub team with their GitHub Copilots, where it can do autocomplete code, autocomplete comments, autocomplete full modules sometimes. Very interesting to see how, as a coder, as a builder, number one, you can make coding experience easier. But number two, now this means making it safer. And I think of all of our partners that are in the security industry, they're sort of smiling and nodding, going, yes, yes, finally, because once it's pushed into a GitHub repository or pushed into your code repository, those secrets are there to be found by others that shouldn't find them. So it's good to see that they're doing neat stuff around that. Now, the one thing too, as well, just these are the active announcements. Then there were
Oh,
previews.
oh, oh, I
So,
I want to talk about some of the offstage ones.
oh
I
yeah,
did a
yeah, there
huge
we go.
list. Well, when you said active versus that, some of these are the offstage, or I know the private 5G was announced as a preview. Let's talk about that real quick. So the AWS private 5G that's in preview, basically you can launch your own 5G network, a private one, within days and not months for your company. Means AWS will come into and set it up. You'll be done. I mean, I actually think that's pretty cool because it's it's a private cell network for some of those remote locations that might be out there, reach that you are controlling the entire network, and you're not dependent upon like some of the major telco providers. Eric, the other thing I want to mention on Warner's keynote, do you have a link for this? In fact, maybe if you want to bring it up, AWS Repost that was announced. So the Repost, which is a new community-driven questions and answers service to help AWS customers remove all those technical roadblocks and accelerate the innovation. I think that's what they're doing is they're pulling a lot of these technical documents in together, but you're also able to communicate and work through some of the questions together. There
There you go.
There you go. I'm like, wait, what was that? All right, cool. Yeah. Warner had this up on the screen. I actually think this is nice. It's almost like, I don't know if there's really an interactive or a chatbot, but you're working and you're trying to troubleshoot some of those issues that are happening. The one on there, import a self-signed cert. It's like, okay, how do I do this? These are the technical documents. Though I'm not sure how AWS keeps up to date on these, but they always look up to date when something new is released. So I think they're doing an excellent job, at least keeping it new and relative to the questions that are happening. I have a number of other offstage, but Eric, I'm going to let you jump in there.
Yeah. So the reason why I went to those previews, and like I said, this is the offstage work and the stuff that's happening to prepare for what's next is really, really cool because we saw, of course, you just mentioned the 5G. We've got EMR serverless, so very use case specific serverless options now for folks that are in electronic medical records. Amplify Studio, neat work that's happening in there. LexBot, Lex Chatbot. This is all of these next generation tools. These studios and designer platforms are the glue that was needed because, look, I've tried to do a lot of the stuff and people say, oh, it's easy. Just fire up a Lambda function. Well, it's a veritable Rube Goldberg machine trying to connect it to my EC2 instance to then make it do a thing and then have it send out an SNS. So the fact that you can go into these designers and have pre-packaged workflows, very, very cool, because this means huge win for people to adopt these technologies, reduce the amount of compute they're using, and increase. So it basically cuts down cost. As a sustainability story, this is beautiful. Look, at Turbo, we are very hyper aware of the impact that sustainability has on the industry and on the world. So the idea that we could come together and say, hey, as an industry, can we do more about making it more friendly for technologists to use lower impact things? In fact, I'm going to bring this up real quick because this was something that we've had very regularly. You go to turbonomic.com/Earth Day. Eric Sanunis, who is somebody who he literally brought me to this company, and he's taught me every day. And he works tirelessly to bring this message to the world of what we can do to make a data center green. So we've got lots of great stuff around how we're helping and to see stuff like what's happening with the announcements. More serverless equals less compute equals less impact. Like, we're doing more in the cloud, but we can do it and still have a lower impact on both our costs and also on the earth. I think that's a win-win if you ask me.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, I saw the little chat bot come up, and I have to mention that on the preview, there was an AWS chat bot for a Slack preview, integration with Slack. I think that I might have to test that one and play around with it.
Now, this tells you about the shifting in the industry, and I'm going to really touch this really fast, right? Because quite often you would hear these stories of people that on day one, there would be a keynote announcement and they'd bring on a partner and they'd say, this is so amazing. We've got the team from Slack here and we're so happy about the partnership we've got and deep integrations. And then on the day two keynote, they'd announce an equivalent service to Slack that's launched natively by AWS. And it seems sort of like it's an easy trope and a meme to fall into, but the truth is, what it shows you is that Slack was doing the right thing. That company,
Yep.
Whatever company is getting highlighted, means that AWS has seen such a vast inbound request for it that they needed to build something, and they had other connective tissue and other services that were adjacent and easily integrated. So it's never a problem. It tells you it's validation, if anything, that you are in an incredible market if AWS sees the opportunity to get in there. So the Slack stuff, I'm pretty sure what was the name? Amazon, was it Chime? Was there the previous one? Sorry to all the folks that are in the Chime product group.
It's still there. Chime is still integrated. In fact, what they did is they put Chime behind the scenes of Slack. So it still does it all, but you still use Chime for some of your daily stuff. So I still use Chime. Yes, I admitted it.
It is really great. And look, so just in the same way that folks would say, Amazon Web Services launching Service X, it's risky to the industry. I say we have to look on the other side, say it's pure validation. And in fact, it's not a zero-sum game. It means it's a big market. And so again, this is really cool. I'm a big fan of more and more stuff about like the user experience when it comes to going to a web page and like chatbots and stuff like this.
Yep.
We can eliminate a lot of unnecessary wasted time. Boy, I wish Turbo could get into that space. So TwinMaker, FleetWise, lots of IoT stuff. That's clearly a thing that we've been joking about for 5 years. So like the year of Linux VDI, it will be here one day. IoT is actually already here. It's just that it's happening at a scale that no one's usually working at. I want to talk really quickly about Hub Refactor Spaces. This is big because the idea that you can now, and they did a great blog on the idea that refactoring your applications is a journey. It's a journey not unlike the old Oregon Trail. one where many people will die along the way. It's not a simple thing to do, and it's a big holdback for organizations. So Refactor Spaces allows you to then partially refactor your application, and it gives you effectively a landing spot in which to manage this process. So I I am team refactor. I love the idea that people can start to do this, and that AWS is giving them a spot to create that transitional place for them to do it. Because the truth is, it's the only way that I'd rather move a workload to the cloud and then refactor it than to pretend that I'm going to refactor it on premises and never get there. And unfortunately, that's the way that we've seen the pattern play out. Now that being said, en route, shout out, shameless plug here. Don't forget that before you migrate it to the cloud, you want to look. There's a reason we won the migration competency as well as migration and modernization. Bringing those workloads to the cloud, Turbonomic has the opportunity to give you the intelligence and the right decisions around how to size, scale, place that workload for optimal price, performance, and compliance. So, hit us up. Like I said, you can go to turbonomic.com/try. You can see it in real life, but we can talk about the use cases where we can help folks on the refactoring experience, and lots of great customer stories we can share with that as well. So, all right, sorry, that's enough about me. John, keep going.
Well, it was about everybody, so it's pretty good. Talking with a lot of the customers at reInvent was really nice to kind of get their feedback. Those who utilize Turbonomic, those who want to talk about it. There were some awesome demos provided. Our very own Rick Oach I live streamed his event on the Atlas Partner Theater. When did that happen? On Thursday. That
Thursday,
happened. Yeah, Thursday already. I'm sorry, that was just yesterday.
I know it was 22 hours ago.
yeah. Well, what can I say? But so Rick did a nice presentation that I was able to stream live. We had a lot of questions afterwards and engagement around Turbonomic and how they can help not only the modernization, but the migration of it, but talking about the cloud optimization of their existing environment. It was very interesting to see. I mean, if you get a chance to talk to Rick and his passion around it, he will definitely blow your mind on how he can help you, achieve this and still have the maximum resources for that application. You know what? If you get a chance, go ahead, follow Rick on LinkedIn, reach out to us. I'll put you in touch with him. Heck, I'll even join the call because I'm really interested in hearing a little bit more information about you as a customer or potential customer on why or what you're trying to achieve.
Now, we've talked about cloud, we've talked about IaaS, we've talked about me and my old ways of man yelling at cloud, refactoring applications in the on-premises hybrid world. But let's talk about the tools that make the container world spin. We've got more work that it was surprisingly container light relative to previous keynotes.
Or like I said, containerless, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the introduction of something called Carpenter. So this was a new one that when we think of what's the reason for this one, and again, I'm sure that this question will come up in the context of Turbo. So when in doubt, let's catch it before it even has to get asked. What exactly is Carpenter? So Carpenter is an open source. It's actually licensed under the GPL. So shout out to Adrian Cockcroft and all of the amazing team that are doing stuff around open source. In fact, actually, I saw that Emily Freeman also doing work over there now, which is cool, leading advocacy at AWS. And Emily's just a fantastic human on top of everything else that she does technically. But Carpenter is the idea that in order to run the tooling to scale a Kubernetes implementation on EKS, you basically had to go through and do this through EC2 groups, like to be able to do scale groups. It was a non-trivial amount of work, and thus people were making hard and poor decisions at the outset around sizing and scaling their EKS. Now, of course, with Turbonomic, we can auto scale your entire EKS for you, so you didn't even need to worry about the underlay. That's the advantage. But what this means now is that there may be environments where you could have other integrations that could come in, and Carpenter is a new effective orchestration underlay that will speak to the EC2 auto scaling. And then from there, it will be able to make it easier to do that scale up, scale down. they're talking about some of the metrics that will drive the scale up and scale down. I actually saw an article in Forbes that talked a bit of a recap on it. We're very light on data so far. So, of course, keep your eyes. We're actually going to have a full recap on exactly what this means. And we've got our advanced engineering team who are already looking for where there's integration opportunities and what it is. So I got to give, again, a shout out to the AWS team. Number one, promoting more open source. So anything we develop in the open, as they say, sunlight's the greatest detergent. The second piece is that obviously recognizing that there weren't a ton of announcements about Kubernetes because it's kind of just there. It's a real thing that people are using much more regularly. So there weren't 50 new services to announce. They're just talking about customer stories. And if you want to talk about customer stories, we can tell you about OC Tanner, who are doing fantastic stuff around containerization. And literally, like customer after customer, everyone we talk to, what used to be 2 years ago, hey, you just went to the cloud. Are you thinking containers? They'd be like, we're not quite ready for there. And now, a couple years later, everyone's like, yeah, we're running, Kubernetes in our pre-production environment, and we're getting ready to go to production, or we're running production and we're moving more workloads. So it's the digital transformation journey continues. It's pretty cool. So anyway, I'm excited on this because I help out our team on the product marketing on the container and cloud native side. So this is more work for me. More work means that we're doing the right things.
Eric, I noticed that not a number of new container, and I won't use the word list, announcements. There were 195 services going into this reInvent. Now there are over 200. Warner's thing said, it's your fault. That's exactly what it said. He said, we listen to you as the customer. I did see another quote about it, that if you listen to all of us, you'd probably have like 1,000 new services. So thanks for keeping them down. It is over 200 now. When I first started dealing with AWS, we're probably in about I want to say about 60, 70s. So you can see how much it has grown over time. I really like how some of the new services are really complementary to some of the other ones. I do want to touch on some of the offstage announcements that happened. There was an EBS recovery, basically a recycling bin for your accidental deleted snapshots. Now, it only works if you actually set up the retention for it and tie it to maybe a tag that you have, and it's completely based off of tags. You can retrieve it before the retention period does expire. And all I am thinking, and excuse me for calling out your trash can or the recycling bin from Microsoft, is like, I'm using that as my save point, and I can't get rid of this stuff. Well, guess what, folks? It will be deleted. You have to set a retention period, so make sure you take care of that.
Yeah, retention rules are very important with this stuff, but this is really great. I mean, again, very close to home. Turbonomic, one of the platform features that we had a long time ago was we introduced the idea of tracking down dead storage. And I feel like the kid from Sixth Sense saying, I see dead storage everywhere. And it really was this problem that people would set the policy on deletion of compute to not delete the storage, because you never know, we may want to reattach that EBS volume somewhere else. And then unfortunately, it goes into the warehouse right next to the Ark of the Covenant with Indiana Jones. It is gone, never to be rediscovered again. And it's got some bizarro 16-character UUID on it that's not identifiable. People don't necessarily tag it, because it's old enough and they haven't done it. So it became a problem of just resources that were stuck that you're paying for, unnecessary waste. So we got a chance. We can already identify that. In fact, we can delete it automatically within Turbo.
Yep.
So we'll talk about this. We'll actually do a blog on this one. I say John is going to do a great blog on this one because I'm signing him up for it right now.
Excuse me. I'm feeling, I can't make it for that, but actually I'd love to. That's the reason I brought that up, because I know Turbonomic can handle that. It'll take a look at those EBS volumes. Another thing that we take a look as, earlier this year is a GP2 to GP3 migration. That was a key for more of a cost saving and optimization. Another thing that they talked about for this reInvent was snapshots, introduced like an archive to reduce the cost of long-term retention of your EBS snapshots up to 75% savings. So now not only is AWS handling some of that, but if you set the retention period to delete these and you want to potentially save that or get rid of stuff, that's great. Turbonomic can handle that automatically.
Yeah, the idea of archiving snapshots now is a win. That even if you do have those snapshots out there, you can move them down to secondary and tertiary storage.
Yep.
So, this is, and that the auto tiering within S3, auto tiering, down to Glacier, stuff that we saw a couple of years ago that we're seeing real wins with. So this is great. I myself, I use a lot of stuff. I've got a Synology that I then push to S3 and then it auto down tiers to Glacier. And I've got some that go directly to Glacier. So it's very good that you can get dynamic. So for that interim period, you can recover as needed. And then in the longer term, slow and low. But my Glacier bill is about, 28 cents a week. I can live with that a lot more. But that's, obviously results may vary.
Did you know that you're talking about S3 and Glacier? AWS announced a price reduction up to 31% in 3 of those storage classes, from the standard and frequent access to the one zone and frequent access, and then the Glacier flexible retrieval, which was formerly known, and they just renamed it from Glacier to flexible retrieval. They have reduced the price and the cost up to 31% in these 3 storage classes. So as always, AWS is announcing price reductions during reInvent. So it might not be a new service, but they found an easier way to, and a cheaper way to store all this, and they're passing it on to the customers.
Yeah, this is, so I'm going to say that this is an important thing to me, and I'm going to take off my turbo hat. I'll go to my blue light instead of my green light, although we work for IBM, so I guess it's blue too. I'll go to whatever, is a take the work hat off entirely, that new users can get into cloud to empower themselves, right? There's more and more learning experiences. There's grants that are talking about getting into especially underrepresented communities and folks that need access to these services to get education, to get jobs. It is out there. If you need this and you do not see how to get there, talk to us, reach out to your friends in the community. Got a massive tech community. There are tons of AWS meetups. Just go to meetups.com. There's lots of folks that are organizing regular meetups. In fact, our Park My Cloud team ran the DC AWS meetup. I sat in for that quite a few times. Really, really great community there. So I know lots of folks that are running the user groups from all over. So very, very cool. That's what matters to me, right? The day 4 stories, the Werner stories, that the videos that lead up to his keynote, real stuff of other parts of the world that aren't US East 1 getting access to technology to make their lives better.
Yep. So Eric, you talked about some of the training. Did you know that they have tripled their AWS restart program for those wanting to restart into, technology, restart into the career? If you go to aws.training, and I am taking off my hat as well. Maybe I should change my light to change. Well, I can't change the hair, not yet. But anyway, if you go to aws.training, there's free training available. At the click of the button, they have gone out of their way to do the skill set. Thank you for throwing that up. Take a look at it. This was by far, this program came about, I think, about 2 years ago, and it has taken off. A lot of people are utilizing it, jumping in there, learning. There's free training, free learning available to you. Utilize the free tier. Do not forget to set up your budgets, because you don't want to have a surprise AWS bill. But we can talk about that another time.
Yeah, and there's lots of stories. There's lots of people in the peer community. So we're going to see the chance for everybody to, as they say, a rising tide lifts all boats, and we move faster together as a group than we do as one. So this is it's about community, and so was the last week at reInvent. I think we're gonna wind down because we are at the end of our live time. But John, anything you want to lay down before we close up shop here today?
Okay, I have 1, 2, 3 things. Do I have enough time? Okay, well, I'm going to try to squeeze it all in. Okay, first, Eric, I know you're a big AWS Outpost fan like myself with the 1U and 2U racks that were announced. AWS Outpost has announced 5 additional areas from Costa Rica, Ecuador, Morocco, Nigeria, and Vietnam. All right. They also announced 30 new local zones. So I wanted to throw that out. I think having Outposts in that hybrid model was a key thing for AWS because I think only 5 to 15% of workloads are in the cloud. So if you think about those numbers, really huge. Okay, my next thing, I got to give a huge shout out to everybody that attended the reInvent, that I get a chance to meet, everybody that worked behind the scenes. Eric, you and I, front and center, all the work you did behind it. Thank you so much. The Turbonomic folks at the booth. Thank you for all the hard work that you did day in and day out, talking to customers too with them, on your feet. And don't forget the gentleman who won the Lego set. That was pretty cool. And then the last thing too, John Bourne, the magician who was at the booth, who put on an awesome show for everybody. A really cool dude. Glad he was there. He showed me some cool tricks. So I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is I think if you look at what people are doing in the world that's really cool, and we were lucky enough to have John Bourne. He was in the event center with us, so you can go and follow. I think it's John B Magic on Instagram. Seek him out. He's really, really cool. And yeah, so I forgot about that. The local zones, very, very cool. And, while Outposts getting to notice the locations that Outposts are very important, let's not be North American centric. Proximity
Yep.
to US East 1 is not indicative of your advancement of technology. This is why I've talked with actually many, many folks, especially in the mining industry, that are all over the world in very disparate locations. Outpost is incredible for them because that they can put compute right next to the work that they're doing, have it asynchronously communicate back. More services that are showing up that are distributing traditional AWS in center services and bringing them to the Outpost. So fantastic work. I love what they're doing around that. Pretty soon you're going to have Outpost mobile and it's just going to fit on a phone. Local
Ooh.
zones. I saw there was one in Chi-Town. So shout out to my friends in Chicago. There you go. Ava
Yep.
Tuksai, who's part of our advanced engineering. She's a Chi-Town resident. Bad pizza, great people. And now you got a local zone. So that's the best I have to. You can't go a day without talking about how poor deep dish pizza is, but maybe I'm alone on that one. So
I'm going to stay out of that argument. So, Eric, I got one last thing on my part. Folks, I've got to take off the badge. It's the last day ending of AWS reInvent 2021, 10-year anniversary. Going to hang this up with the rest of them. It has been 2 years since I've been there. It's nice. Can't wait for the next time, the next summit, wherever it may be. You will see us either in person or virtually, but you will have Turbonomic there with your side.
And don't forget, of course, go to AWS events. There's much more that happens after the show. There are continuous quarterly events and
Yep.
regional events that are occurring. So make sure you stay close because the announcements you saw here, you can watch all of it on YouTube. You can go to the Turbonomic blog. You can see more. Of course, like I said, this is our opportunity to be able to bring you closer to a successful adoption of cloud. You can go to turbonomic.com/try, see what your Turbonomic experience would look like, go through the guided tour, take your own tour. It's like one of those cool, open top bus tours, except you don't get cold and wet and you get to get off the bus whenever you want and drive your own tour. So it's very cool. In fact, if you want, John and I will give you side-by-side announcements of your entire tour experience of turbonomic.com try. So there you go. That's
There
our
you
promise
go.
to you.
Thanks for signing us up for some more.
And without further ado, again, thank you to all of you for being with us through this event, whether remote or in person in Las Vegas. We've got coming up to the end of the year. The world is going to wind down a bit, hopefully. So enjoy. We will see you at the next virtual event, at the next in-person event, and of course, follow us on the blog. Lots of great content coming soon. Oh yeah, that's right. Of course, you're streaming off YouTube. So hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that little notification bell, and it'll remind you whenever there's a new video that shows up from the Turbonomic team. Thank you very much.
All right, folks. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.